Hey, it's your professional sarcastic man and seeker of attention, Oz Chris, here with reviews on The Amazing Spider-Man number 14 and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 35. So starting off with everyone's favorite web slinger, ASM, Rhino has returned and teams up with Spider-Man actually, despite this cover showing that he's there to attack Spidey. I like the cover. It's a nice kind of a funny cover, just Rhino appearing to look like. It looks like he's there to beat the living hell out of Spidey. Spidey's just drinking a coffee. So, part 1 in Family Matters, that's the story arc. And Chris Bachalo is the artist and colorist on this. And I'm not a big fan. Like, this art, it's a bit, I'm not really a big fan of Bachalo's art in this. And I was shown what Bachalo's art in previous issues of ASM were, because he has done he's done art for ASM before, and that looked really good. It looked really good, and compared to this, it's just like, what's you just doing this for a paycheck? Where's the previous ASM art that you've done? Why aren't you bringing it to this? You know, the faces are a bit weird, and then sometimes there's a lot of unnecessary details to like costumes and to characters, like with not really that much with Lizard, but with Rhino, there's like all of these kind of just like cracks and everything, despite the fact the Rhino in the cover doesn't have that. And then same with the face looks normal, but then when it goes to a close up, the face is also cracked as well. It's like Bachalo was trying to emulate skin, like Rhino skin, but for some reason cracked, or just like a very old Rhino. But it looks weird. I'm not a fan of the art in this one. But story. Let's go into the story. So. After having, so Peter and MJ have dinner with Lizard and his family, and there's a lot of family problems. The kid wants to go out and live a normal life. Lizard doesn't want that because he thinks it's too dangerous. Kid refutes, and dangerous for who? For me or for everybody else? You keep saying you want to protect me, but I think that's a lie. I know what you're really scared of, Dad. You're afraid I'm going to be a monster like you. Ooh, damn. What a, jeez, kid, what a burn. But while that's going on, Aunt May is trying to figure out all the money that was left behind by her husband, what was it? Jay. Yes, Jay Jameson left some money to her, but figuring out with his lawyer, I believe his attorney. Yes, Jay's attorney. Brett Alster, Jay's attorney, who tries to hit on it, but Aunt May's not having any of that, throwing a glass of wine and leaving, and she encounters a group of thugs harassing what seems to be a homeless man. She's able to scare him off with a holographic projector that Peter gave to her, and decides to treat him to a nice meal, which gets interrupted by Rhino, who is being attacked by Taskmaster and Black Ant, to which Spidey arrives as well. And Spidey looks a bit, is it just me, or he looks kind of short? I know Spidey's not supposed to be, Peter's not supposed to be like overly muscular, but you could still at least see a little bit. But he kind of looks, it could just be I don't know what to say, but I don't know what to call it, but he kind of looks like a kid. Almost looks like a kid. I think it's just the angle looks like he's drawn as a kid and not as an adult, possibly. But Spidey arrives and discovers that Rhino's not actually there to cause trouble. Like I said, Taskmaster and Black Ant are after him. So the two decide to team up to deal with them. And I'll leave it there. It was a nice issue that was bogged down by the art. I really, really didn't like the art in this issue. Doesn't seem to be Bachalo's best. I don't know. It's just sometimes sometimes the faces look okay, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're just literally just lines, like eyes and everything are just lines. I know Mary Jane's probably just like kind of a eyes slightly closed smile like that, but no, in a lot of parts the faces look alright, and the others it doesn't. Yeah, art wasn't particularly good, but it was a nice story regardless of the art. So on to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. We find out about the origins of Heckle, aka the Dark Ranger, from Power Rangers Dino Charge / Dino Supercharge. So since they couldn't do it in the TV show, I think I've said this before, but in the second season of Dino Charge, which was Dino Supercharge, there was plans to be a ranger called the Talon Ranger, and it was presumed that it was going to be a adaptation of from the Sentai. It was either going to be Death Ruger, which was an evil ranger, or which is what this one is. That's that whole suit. That's the Death Ruger suit, or it was going to be Kyoryu Navy, which was a purified version of this. It lost there's a fin-like shoulder arm thing there. It doesn't have that. The red arms are gray. The red detailing there becomes, I think, comes white or black. I don't know, but it was supposed to symbolize like, okay, now it's a purified. It's the good version, and it never happened. And it was very much implied that the character of Heckle, who was one of the villains of this of that season, was going to be the Talon Ranger. He had something called the Dark Energem. The Energems are items that are used by the Power Rangers to transform, to become Rangers. So it's very much implied and heavily hinted that Heckle would be the Talon Ranger, but it never happened. It was scrapped, but the comics reintroduced the Talon Ranger as the Dark Ranger. I can see why now he's called the Dark Ranger, because he uses the Dark Energem. Talon Ranger just sounds better. Dark Ranger is still too generic. Talon Ranger just sounds much better. So now we see the origins of Heckle becoming the Dark Ranger, and he tells it as a story to Shattered Grid Kimberly, Ranger Slayer Kimberly, and to Cam. The reason why he's kind of been hiding himself from everyone, and it's important that he tells someone his story, as it's a story of atonement. He's atoning for what he did, so he recounts, his history with the Dino Charge Rangers, and going off, he returns home. At the end of the series, they kind of time was changed, so he's able to go home with Xeno Wing to train in order to contain the Dark Energem and to hide it from Lord Arcanon, who was also one of the villains of the series as well, in the Dino Supercharge. And him finally starting to open up again. He's now good. He's kind of free from Snide. That was the thing that possessed him. It was literally a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. If you couldn't figure that out from the name Heckle, Snide, Heckle was the human part, more human part. Snide was the evil monster. Although Heckle was the more like mischievous and sinister with how he went about with his plans. But I digress. So Heckle proposes the idea, what if Sentai 6 had another Ranger? You're a Ranger. Could the Dark Energy be used to power a second morpher? But no, it wouldn't, because the Dark Xeno Wing tells him the Dark Energem is pure evil. I would not risk sacrificing anyone to this cause, and you, young keeper, are as worthy as anyone you would intend to save. So it has consequences for using the Dark Energem, but despite that fact, and motivated because of his time as being possessed by Snide, who was created because of the Dark Energem. He creates a second morphle for himself. Problem is, he unwittingly has brought forth Lord Arcane into Sentai 6, so despite Xenowing confronting him, he keeps him locked up, transforms for the first time into the Dark Ranger to confront Arcanen. Arcanen is able to be defeated, but the Dark Energem is starting to corrupt Heckle once again, probably bringing Snide back as well, and a sacrifice is made, and I won't spoil it, and as such, motivated by that sacrifice, was why Heckle joined in the events of Shattered Grid, and why he's on a quest for atonement, to be an actual good guy, as Kimberly says to him, "You good, Heckle?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm good." So it was a nice origin. So it still works well with the canon of the TV show, as it takes place after the events of the show of him becoming a ranger. A nice sentimental rising to become a hero despite his past as a villain origin story for Heckle. Like the cover, great cover by Jamal Campbell, as always, I believe it is, yeah. Yes, cover by Jamal Campbell. They had two different artists, so for the parts where he's talking with Kimberly and Cam, it's the art was done by Francesco Mortarino, and the coloring was by Walter Baiamonte. I think they're the ones that have been doing it so far, or it could be a different one, I can't remember, but I definitely like the art there. Then the art was done from the remainder, so the whole of the entire flashback origin is done by French Colormagno, and coloring by Eleonora Bruni, and color assistance by Francesco Segala. So that wasn't bad either. Sometimes the face is bit off, like what's that? Is it real? What, your face? Don't think your face is real. Like, sometimes the faces were a bit off, but majority of the time, the art was good for the origin flashback part. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't terrible. Sometimes the faces were off, but it was good nonetheless. So another good issue of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and that is it for these two. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all next time.